Deshalia, 65, take one.
Deshalia! Welcome to Fierce 2024, the way of the brave. We celebrate what God is doing in your life and your testimony of victory. Can you share your testimony of God's faithfulness in your life?
Of course. I think we've all got multiple testimonies, but I'm currently living through my greatest testimony thus far. But my first testimony is actually the one that led me to this. So, I was born into a Hindu family, which was very Hindu. But we were not, our extended family was extremely religious, not my family itself, but we still had to portray that we were religious. Anyways, I grew up in a broken home. Both of my parents got divorced. It was very messy and very toxic, and even after the divorce, it never stopped. It just continued being toxic. So the first 21 years of my life was very, very painful. There was a lot of emotions of feeling out of place, feeling misunderstood. I was always the angry sibling. I have 3 other siblings, but I was always the angry one. They belonged to their own families. When my parents got remarried, my one sister had her family and my other 2 sisters had their families. So I was sort of just like the one stuck in the middle. And obviously because of all the confusion, I was not a happy kid. I was very angry. I don't want to talk too much about what I went through because I also put my parents through a lot because of my anger. But I was very lost, very, very lost, where I actually never saw myself living past the age of 20 because I couldn't see a future for myself at all. And everyone always thought that I would be the failure. I would be the one that ends up lost, and I had no vision, and I didn't know where I was headed myself. So, I couldn't really complain about what everyone else had to say about me. But I always felt like through all the things that I had went through, I had a family who turned to everything else except God. But for some reason, I never did. And I knew that I was being protected. I knew that what I was experiencing and the things that were happening around me was not normal. But I didn't know why. I just didn't gravitate towards certain things. And God just He kept me. And once I turned 21, that's when I met God. I knew that there was a force protecting me. I just didn't know who He was. And how I met Him, it was actually a friend of mine who was right under my nose the whole time. I ignored him, but he'll tell you a different story. Eventually we started chatting and started getting to know each other, and I always had this thing about myself where I always wanted to look well put together. I always wanted to have the best clothes because I come from a gross amount of wealth on both sides of my family. So everything was about money. My whole life, I faked having a perfect life. I faked it to my friends, to our family, to everybody. And this was the first person that I really, really opened up to and told him like I'm broken. And I don't know if we should even be together because I'm just gonna damage you. And it was bad. But I prayed and I said to God, I'm ready for the next chapter of my journey to begin. And I want to heal and I want to be a better person. And I want my future to start because I'm so lost. I just graduated, top of my year. I'm still empty. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to go after this. So guide me. And I prayed and I said to God, send the first step of my journey towards me, whether it's going to be that person or whether it's going to be something that, a journey that I start in my life, but send something my way to tell me that it's time. And this friend of mine, obviously we became closer, And the one day he sat down with me and he said to me, I want to pray for you, and can I start praying with you? And then I said, okay, God, you can't be any clearer. This has to be you, because nobody in my life has ever offered to pray for me. And I've never prayed with anybody. I don't know how to pray. And we started praying together, and while he would pray, and then he asked me to start praying, and I realized I don't know how to pray. I don't know what a prayer sounds like. I don't know how to start. And I would get upset, and I'd be like, stop pressuring me. Like, why don't you just pray? You're the one initiating it. And I just was that lost that I didn't even know how to pray. Eventually, I learned how to pray. And like I said, that's when I met God at 21. And it became the biggest sacrifice of my life, meeting God. My family found out about me growing closer to a different faith, and they were not happy about it. And as secure as I was, having everything in the world, all the money, the cars, the houses, everything, it just didn't feel right. I didn't feel fulfilled, and I didn't feel like how I felt when I prayed. And so they told me to make a choice, and they said, either you're going to choose us, or you're going to choose Christianity and this person, and you're going to go down the wrong road and you're going to regret it. And I said, it's fine. If that does happen, that would be my mistake to make, but it doesn't feel wrong to me. So I left home and I left everything. I literally went from having everything to having nothing. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a single cent. I didn't have my car. I left every single thing behind. And I lived with a cousin of mine. I actually lived out of my suitcase for 3 months. And I hadn't heard from my mom for at least 3 years. My dad eventually decided that he's going to support me, and obviously financially was the way that he knew how. So he gave me my first job, and I gave that job everything that I could have. And from that job, I got scouted out by another company where I was hesitant to leave, because I knew that with my family, I kind of have some security back, and I get to have Christ in my life, and I get to have this person. And so I felt comfortable, but then God said, you need to move. And then I hesitated, but I did it, because you have to listen to God when he tells you to do something. So the worst thing for me was to be disobedient, and I just felt like there was a blessing connected to that, and I had to do it. So I did it. I took the other job. I first turned it down, and then they said to me, we'll even pay you double what you're earning at your dad's company. So then I said, okay, but I was hesitant, because I said, okay, I'm not even qualified for this. Like, how will I ever grow in this industry? I took the job. I became a supervisor in a male-dominated industry at 23, and now at 24, I've been given an even higher position, and I wasn't sure if I would qualify for this as well. I was studying project management, not knowing that I would even be given an opportunity to go into project management. But my director sat me down, and he is a Christian man, comes from a very good family as well. And he said, there's just something about you that I gravitate towards. And whenever I pray, God keeps telling me that there's talent in you and there's skill that I need to nurture. So I studied. My director offered to give me a position which would be the first female in the history of the company to be in control of that department, and he told me that within 3 months I would be the project manager in that department. And 2 days ago I just found out that I qualified, and I am a qualified project manager now. So obviously once I hit that peak, I kind of realized that life is not perfect, things don't always go perfect, and there's some things that I've been pushing below the surface because I've been so focused on the material things again that I've forgotten about God's purpose in my life. So within the past 6 months, I've been given 4 sets of bad news from doctors. The first one I was able to overlook. The second 2 I'm on chronic for. And the most recent one we are currently trying to fix. 2 of them are very painful, but it's forcing me to work on myself, and it's forcing me to become a better person. And because of how lost I was my entire life, not having a family, jumping from home to home, going wherever anyone would give me love between the 2 of my parents, and just feeling completely misunderstood, my biggest goal in my life was to have a family. That I wanted that more than anything. I just wanted to feel like I belong somewhere, and like I would have something that can't be taken away from me, and that would be solid. And I always wanted to prove to myself that that was possible, because I never in my life thought that it could be possible. And obviously the most recent thing is the thing that broke me, because the doctors basically told me that having a family would be one of my biggest struggles. But we don't believe in that, and that is not true. It's not possible either that the doctor's results would be the final say. God's say is always the final say. And I won't lie to you, if I was sitting here even 4 years ago, I would have probably been breaking something or crying, or I would have not been the person that I am today. But to have witnessed how I lost everything in my life, and God gave me 10 times more than what I ever imagined, without qualifications, without experience, without a cent to my name. He literally He multiplied everything that I even prayed for. So I know that no matter what happens in your life, God will always give you greater than what you pray for, and He's done it again. So I know that He did it the last time. The next time I sit here, I'll be telling you that He did it again, and that I have my family, and that I'm successfully running that department, and that my body is completely healed. And that's the thing about a testimony, is that it doesn't always have to be perfect, and you don't have to wait till the end of your testimony to attest to God's faithfulness in your life, because there's a lot of small things that happen in between where God tells you that He's working on you, and He tells you that He's healing you and He's fixing you, and these pieces are coming together, but you're so focused on the bad things in your life that you miss out on all the small things that are coming together. And the only way that you will ever truly be blessed is when you start being appreciative of the smaller things that happen. So no matter what happens, whether I'm in the midst of my testimony, or whether I'm at the end of my first one, God is still God, and God is still good. And He has done it so many times before, so He's going to continue doing it. So that's my testimony, is that I'll always have faith.
What lessons have you learned whilst facing your challenges?
I've learned to force myself to not react in the flesh, which it is hard because we are human, but to consult God before getting upset about something, to talk to Him and find out whether this is actually coming from Him, because if it's not coming from Him, I'm not going to give the enemy a minute of my time. And I've also learned that it's okay to be dramatic. It's okay to throw a tantrum, but we are women, and women are more powerful than we even think we are. So be dramatic, but pick yourself up, because that's what women do.
What encouragement or message would you like to offer to those who may be seeking or struggling in their faith journey?
So this is just what works for me. Pray to God, and we are all a vessel of God, and He's trying to show His power, and He is trying to show His people how much He loves them. So He's using us as a vessel. So when you're going through a tough time, don't think that it's about you. It's never about you. It's always about God. So pray to God, ask Him what the purpose of your journey is and what His plan for your life is. Find a Bible verse that defines that, and whenever you feel low, recite that to yourself. So mine is John 13, verse 7, where Jesus says, "You may not know what I'm doing right now, but later you'll understand." And that's just it, is that you don't have to understand to have faith.
Deshalia, thank you for being brave and sharing your testimony with the world. May God increase and enlarge your territory.